But looking at the second part of Kant's What is Enlightenment, in section 5, there is this distinction made between the public use of reason and the private use of reason. It's important to understand the distinction, I think, mostly because it's important in understanding what he means by the public use of reason. Because after all, this whole essay is about the claim that the public use of reason should always be free and should be completely free, but allowing that there are other uses of reason which can be limited, and these he calls the private use of reason. It's a little bit counterintuitive what the differences are between the private and public use. In the private use of reason, he gives examples of uh, people who occupy a civic post or office, thinking of priests or government officials, maybe even school teachers, I don't know. People who occupy a post where they are addressing a community of some sort, which is private in the sense that it's not public, private in the sense that it is, say, a congregation of a church or something like that. Whereas the public use of reason is really the use of reason when addressing the reading public or the public at large. Contrast a priest or minister of some sort addressing a congregation. They're not addressing the world, they're addressing a group of people who are part of a sort of group of some sort who are connected to each other by their beliefs, let's say. And I think Kant's idea is the person who serves as a representative of that institution does not have complete freedom to express their opinions, at least when they're in that role of being a representative of the institution. And by institution, I mean a church, maybe even a government, bureaucracy of some sort. Contrast that with when you speak, let's say, as he says, as a scholar addressing the whole reading public, or as he says, a scholar, as he says here, by the public use of reason, one's own reason, I understand the use that anyone as a scholar makes of reason before the entire literate world, the reading public. When you're writing something that's addressed to the world, you're writing in a different voice than when you write as a representative of some partial community, religious or otherwise. And again, the whole point of the essay, I think, really is that, okay, we can limit what people can say in their roles as those sort of representatives, but when they are addressing the world, then we cannot limit what they say. And ultimately, why not? I mean, he's arguing for freedom of speech, at least a certain part of a culture or community in which there is total freedom of speech, even if there are others where speech is limited. But why is he ultimately advocating for this? It's best explained in section 6, and he says, well, what we're really talking about is the free exchange of ideas, the freedom of people to criticize the existing state of things and to offer ideas about how things could be better. And that could be scientifically better, religiously better, politically better. He says, well, imagine that we all got together and said, well, our should just stop. We should just be grateful for where we are and what we believe, and we should just stop here. He says, but would a society of pastors, perhaps a church assembly or venerable presbytery, as those among the Dutch call themselves, not be justified in binding itself by oath to a certain unalterable symbol in order to secure a constant guardianship over each of its members, and through them over the people, and this for all time? I say that this is wholly impossible. That is, it would be wrong and it's just sort of unthinkably wrong to say, well, no more inquiry, no more free speech. We've got the truth that we need, and no one should criticize it. We don't need to move on. What does he say? This would be a crime against human nature, whose essential destiny lies precisely in such progress of knowledge. So, pretty grand foundation, demonstration of the need for reason, speech, the use of reason to be entirely free. There's at least got to be some place within society where that occurs. Elsewise, we are transgressing against our own essence as human beings, which is to make progress towards enlightenment. It's a pretty amazing proof of the thing.